Hello, this is Having It number 5, and Having It is our live stream video series where we go from desire to manifestation, which are the two pillars we talk about a lot. If you're living, a conscious life and you're wanting to build and transform and create and be a soul innovator at this really important time on the planet, we talk a lot about desiring something. Hi, Catherine. We talk a lot about manifesting it. This video series, we're talking about actually having it. So today we're in number 5. Hi, Nancy. And we are talking about, I thought today we're going to talk about gratitude. I thought today we would talk about gratitude. The video that I was going to do today was basically going to be about how when we are truly grateful, being truly grateful really allows ourselves to have the things we have. And then I realized we needed to take a step back because I had this experience this weekend that made me realize that first we need to embrace being high maintenance. And so I'm going to explain how this all comes together right now. So basically, and hey, if you're watching, hello, feel free to post questions or comments or anything you're working through around having it, bridging from manifestation to having it. So this past weekend, I was out on this farm in Northern California in the middle of this huge property with a lot of goats. And I was there to work with a teacher of intimacy and connection and relationships and like the human experience, who is a very polarizing figure. And her work is really potent and intense, and it's like not for everyone. And something that is most striking about her to me is how specific she is. So she's incredibly specific with the environment she creates for her events, and she's incredibly specific with what she needs to facilitate. And so we all it was a small group of people. We went out to 3 hours outside of San Francisco to this beautiful place, but it wasn't easy to get there, and it's kind of like a very intense scenario and structure once you're there. And this woman who's the teacher has a whole staff really supporting her, and then she comes in, and each day she would work with the group for a couple hours. But it was so potent and so intense that was basically about how long anyone could handle, right? And then she would leave and you would do all these other things, and then she would come back the next day. And by the end of it, what was interesting to me was, even though this was it was a very expensive experience to go to, and the transmissions and the working with the teacher was shorter, everyone's feedback at the end was how generous it felt and how much they got out of working with her and how powerful it was. And something she said was, I never want to teach out of obligation. I always want to be so filled up and so supported that it's simply overflowing. And so therefore, when people work with me, that's the experience they have. Because because I've really embraced what I need, I'm so filled that what I do is, basically what I'm going to say, surmise, is what she does is so potent because it's so condensed, because she has exactly the circumstances she needs. So my big takeaway for me, because she made a comment in the beginning of the weekend and said something like, we love high maintenance people here. We love hiring high maintenance people. We love high maintenance people. People would probably consider the whole scenario kind of a high maintenance scenario, and a big door opened within me, and I felt something sort of just open, bing. And there was a part of me that has been waiting to embrace being high maintenance probably my whole life. And something opened in me where I realized that for me to be able to do what I want to do next and really offer and facilitate, that I was going to have to really embrace that. And so that's what I wanted to talk about first today, because I think there's a lot of really sensitive, conscious, loving people in the world who basically, the world as it is right now, we're here to set a new tone, right? There's a lot of things that we were told should be or is, or it's how it's going to be, or it's how things work, where now we're coming into a time where there's more transparency and there's more years of doing something a certain way where we're seeing it didn't work for people. And so all these things that we were supposed to be agreeable to on a societal or a cultural level, we're all kind of agreeing, hey, you know what, actually these things don't work for a lot of people. The way we do relationships don't work for a lot of people. The way we do healthcare and food and education, these actually the way career, actually these things don't work for a lot of people. And so it's up to people who have really identified as soul innovators, who are choosing to introduce new and positive change into a already existing environment, to have been before the fray to say, yeah, this doesn't work for me. I do need something different. And it takes a lot of bravery, and it takes a lot of intensity to be a sensitive person who can feel that the way we're doing things doesn't work for us. And if it doesn't work for us, it means it's not working for the greater collective. But what has often happened is if you've been the sensitive person in the family, you're oftentimes the person where you've been thought of as high maintenance. She needs so much, right? Yeah, you need that. You always need something special. You always need a different scenario, or you're feeling into an environment and you're feeling like maybe people can't give you what you need, or maybe it would be a hardship for people. I'm hearing that. Oh, I'm looking at the comments. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I didn't see you were all here. Hi, Nancy, Nora, Brooke, Sunny, Arcana, Kim. Hey, Raphael, Brooke, Hina. What's up, everyone? Okay, so basically, I'm glad you're all here. And so, right, so here's the thing. So most of us are here to be on the cutting edge and say, hey, you know what? The way this world works doesn't work. Doesn't work for me. And yet, because you're on the cutting edge, because you're the one to set the new tone, it's not like people are going to give you the invitation to say, hey, this isn't working for me. You have to be able to have the bravery within you to say, this doesn't work for me, I need different circumstances. And it's at that point that you're usually thought of as being the pain in the ass, high maintenance person. So this was a huge awakening for me, and I like raised my hand as soon as this woman started talking about how much she loves high maintenance people. It actually, something within me was feeling very relaxed, and that was my feedback. Before this woman said that, I suddenly had this feeling of being more relaxed than I'd ever been in my life. And then when she said that, I realized it was the part of me that I've judged as high maintenance my entire life was finally in an environment where it was going to be welcomed. And it actually brought me to tears. And then the woman said to me, and she brought up people who are known as high maintenance, like Barbara Streisand, right? Or like famous divas and people who need a very specific circumstance. And she was like, if you have recognized yourself as high maintenance, it means you have a special gift to give. So I want to reflect that back to everyone who's watching. If you have been thought of as high maintenance, or you maybe have a resentment against people who are high maintenance, it means you have a special gift to give, because extraordinary gifts require extraordinary circumstances. Extraordinary gifts, really giving at your highest level, like the way this woman who for 2 hours was able to give something that was extraordinary, where people traveled and did what they did to be there, right, was because she had extraordinary circumstances built around her. So she could come in and offer on the highest possible level. And so I realized, like, that's what kept me, for example, working 2 jobs for a lot of years, because I didn't want to be high maintenance. I didn't want to command and demand. I felt guilty. I grew up with a lot of illness in my family, so I always needed like special circumstances because someone was in the hospital or there was some sort of crisis, and so I felt ashamed. I give it to myself 50% of every day of my life. It's my requirement. I'd love to hear, Brooke, if you don't mind posting, like what that looks like for you, 50% of the day. People are really feeling this. There's a lot of smiles coming up. So, I grew up feeling like, oh, I'm so high maintenance. Or, I know a lot of highly sensitive people tend to feel like what they judge what they need as like extravagant or over the top or being a pain in the ass. When internally it's just what you need. It's just the essential circumstances you need to deliver what you're here to deliver. So I spent a lot of years not asking for what I really needed because I felt a lot of shame for always needing special circumstances or identifying that something wasn't working for me that apparently was working for most of the people around me. And then basically what happened is that kept me in a zone of working like a maniac for really my whole life, but certainly my adult life, right? So I had like 2 jobs always because I didn't want to be high maintenance. And it really took me, hey, Debbie, how wonderful to see you here. And Brooke, I'm going to put your comment for a minute. It really took me declaring, you know what? I can't deliver what I'm here to offer if I keep working 2 jobs. I can't deliver what I'm here to offer. I mean, I would work like a 10-hour day and then be running like channeling circles for 30 people and was like basically about to like drop. And there was a certain point where my own guides and guardians, I will never forget this. I was at an event and I had like 30 people there and we had just started the event. And I felt that my guides within me basically just say like, we're turning this energy off because you're not taking care of yourself and you're acting like it's like you can be this low maintenance casual person and you're trying to offer something that is going to absolutely transform the life of every person who's here. And it's done. We can't work with you this way anymore. And so it actually turned off and I had to go through the journey of finding a way to really command and ask for what I need to be able to deliver what I'm doing. And it's a constant, I realized for me, and maybe it is for you, it's like a constant thing of feeling guilty for what I need and feeling like it's high maintenance. And it's been a lot of programming to unravel. And what I've realized is that there's certain circumstances that need to be there for you to offer what you're really here to offer. And oftentimes it feels so big internally. It feels so big internally. Yeah, needing does not mean needy, Laura is saying. Thank you, Stephanie. I thought I would wear my gown because it kind of is like my high maintenance gown. Brooke puts working a short amount, then self-care. Yeah. So it's something I constantly struggle with, and it's something that I know the people I work with are constantly struggling with because they're unraveling a lot of programming of being the highly sensitive person who is there to create a change, and therefore they need different circumstances than the status quo, and you won't be able to deliver what you're here to deliver unless you offer that, unless you offer yourself that, unless you ask for it. And the funny thing is typically what you need will not be that big a deal. Everything that I have thought has been so earth-shattering that I needed to ask for, that I've needed to have happen, ends up not being that big a deal for the people around me unless they're suppressing their own needs, right? And it ends up not being that big a deal for my clients and my colleagues and my friends and my partners. It ends up not being a big deal. And so if you're feeling overwhelmed, like you're really relating to what I'm saying of, yes, I've always been the high maintenance person. I've always been considered high maintenance. I'm afraid to ask what I need right now in my job or in this relationship or even like sitting on a bus, right? Like, or with roommates, or there are these little things where it's like, oh God, I can't ask for that, or I can't bring that up, or well, the ride's almost over, so I'll sit where I am even though this person's stepping on my foot. Hey, Martine, right? Like, there are these little tiny moments throughout the day where you are constantly suppressing and denying what you need because of the fear that it's high maintenance, or maybe the person will say no, or this and that, or this and that. So don't be overwhelmed. You don't need to do a full overhaul of your life in this moment. What you need to do is start to just slow down and realize bit by bit by bit that there are little moments where you suppress and deny what you need that would not be a big deal to get, that would make people actually happy to deliver. And gradually, these tiny little moments build up. Hey, Michelle. Yes, I can't wait to talk to you. So true. Every time I try to fit into social norms, my angelic self gets outed. Yet I was told this won't let me see the whole comment, so I'm going to see it afterwards. So bit by bit by bit, you will suddenly build a life where you have extraordinary support, extraordinary circumstances, and there's nobody who feels triggered or like you're a pain in the ass, because the gifts you will be giving are so outstanding and so powerful and feel so good for everyone who's in your life and in your field, that it'll be like the experience I just had with this woman who has such extraordinary circumstances built around her and came in and delivered her service for such a condensed amount of time, and yet the experience for everyone was how generous and giving and amazing it was. I'm sensory lighting, noise, air affects me big time. It was not yeah, exactly, right? So there's like chemicals all over the fucking air, which has created a lot of health issues that we now see in people, right? And so you may have been someone who was really sensitive to that early on in life, and it's like, you know, what are you going to do, right? Like, oh, it's the pain in the ass person who's sensitive to the air and the chemicals, and you're in a school and whatever it is. Exactly. This is the Soul Innovator way, is just realizing that a lot of the things that are an issue for you, it's because they're not meant to stay. Someone has to say this doesn't work, or this doesn't work for me. So the outcome of this whole high maintenance thing is just to embrace it, to understand it's part of offering something really extraordinary. Because, you know, and I'm still working through this myself. Like, what could I deliver if I really asked for what I needed? If I really asked for the circumstances that I really needed? You know, I've had some really amazing experiences in the last few days, just really asking for what I've needed and then being able to deliver something that made me realize when the circumstances are right, like magic happens. So when the circumstances are right for you, you will deliver and offer things you can't even realize that you're capable of now, and it will be a gift for all of us. So that's where we are with the high maintenance thing. Embrace it. If you can't embrace it in a huge overhaul in this moment, then embrace it in little tiny bits. Yeah, I told the guys at school at the Board of Ed that okay, so you're having like Wi-Fi you're sensitive to. Oh, there's so many good comments coming in. I don't know why it won't show me the whole thing. When your partner makes you feel that you're needing or demanding, it sculpts you into believing you aren't. Yeah, so sometimes we do get that feedback, and I certainly did from a lot of people. So here's the thing. You have to embrace it. I just want to bring Laura's point that what if the family or friends or the lover in your life says, like, God, you're annoying. So there's 3 pieces to that. The first is you're responsible for your well-being, not the people in our life. So, which means, Laura, and everyone else who relates, including myself, which means you have to embrace and own and love that part of you that needs extraordinary circumstances. Because often what it is I totally can relate to this, that I have brought into my life partners where I try to act like I'm this low maintenance hippie and just it's whatever. That's not who I can be. I have too big a mission. I'm a pain in the ass about certain things. I need certain ways. I need to be held in certain ways. I need a certain lifestyle. And then I torture the person I'm with because I am not approving and accepting what I really need. So I'm asking them and I'm demanding them to deliver something that I'm not even in approval of. So how do you think it's going to be reflected back to us? It's not fun to deliver to someone who feels shame about what they're asking for. It's not fun, and it does not encourage generosity from people to deliver back to you when you... Yeah, Stephanie can relate to this. Yeah, right? It's not fun to deliver to someone who's doing it from this weird place. So I know that I would ask for what I need from this desperate martyr, I'm already against the wall in desperation and now I need you as my partner to deliver this. I'm dying. No one wants to help that person, right? People want to deliver and support and give to someone who is full and in total approval and ownership of who they are and what they need. That's what feels really good when you're exchanging with someone who's in a really clear agreement with themselves. And so oftentimes we're not in that clear agreement because, for example, our mom was made us feel bad for being high maintenance. Well, typically the women in our family, mothers, are often taught there's no space for what you need anymore because you're raising kids. So it's very triggering for someone who's already suppressing so much of what they need to have someone in their life that's demanding very specific things, right? So it becomes this domino effect where someone else isn't in approval of what they need, and so they project shame and anger at someone else being high maintenance, and now that high maintenance person tries to get what they need from a partner in their life, but they're also projecting the shame and the anger and the resentment at their own needs, and that's how it's reflected. So I feel like this is huge. It feels really huge for me. This was a big aha I just had over the weekend, but it feels really, really big for us all to stop shaming other people for being high maintenance and to stop shaming ourselves for what we need. And there's a difference between being high maintenance. Yes, scarcity and a fear of not enough is huge on owning what you want. Let's see. You couldn't be more right. My new mantra, be in agreement with myself. Right, and then other people can be in agreement with you. Feeling like we don't deserve our worth. Yeah. And then it's there's an underlying resentment that goes on. So let's all make the commitment right now to embrace this, because when I'm talking about high maintenance, I'm not talking about extraneous. I'm not talking about superfluous. I'm not talking about asking for things you don't really need just to know that that someone will deliver it to you. I'm saying getting really, really clear on the extraordinary circumstances you need to deliver something really extraordinary to the world, and then being really clear and really loving and approving with that, and then communicating that clearly to the people around you, knowing that you're going to get what you need whether or not that person can deliver it. Like, you need to be really clear that that's what you need, and then making sure bit by bit, with all the little tiny desires and all the little tiny requests you make of yourself and others, you suddenly build this beautiful life where you're so full that you can really be in service to other people and support what they need. That's really what we're talking about. Does that make sense to everyone? I'm really, really, really loving all the comments. For some reason on the phone, it doesn't let you see everything. Oh, yeah, and you're saying, like, so you're seeing really hypersensitive kids. Yeah, kids who are considered special needs or highly difficult, I think are oftentimes these soul innovator kids who are part of breaking down some of how the structure of school is happening, because it's not working for too many people. Beautiful. Yeah, so just keep posting them. It feels really good. I bring my own food. Sometimes, yeah, you're just doing what you need to do to take care of yourself. I would really invite everyone to post something they feel like maybe has been thought of as high maintenance that you realize is actually something that's just essential for you and your well-being. Let's celebrate each other and applaud that. So that's what I mean by high maintenance, and that's why I feel like it's so important right now. So how does that come into gratitude? So the video today was really going to be about gratitude and how oftentimes there's this yes to clear communication, still working on that. Life should be fun. Yeah, yes to all of these things. So here's the thing. Now we're going to talk about, I'm just going to check the time. Okay, we're good on time. And because I want to still do a little energy with you guys too. So now we're going to talk about how gratitude relates to all of this. So gratitude, I need silent alone time each day. Beautiful. So gratitude relates to all of this because the same with desire and manifestation. What's the other real big one we always hear about? Gratitude, right? And so that word is constantly used, and there's this feeling of it, but it feels pretty motivated by shame and fear typically. Like, be grateful or else, be grateful or else this is all going to be taken away, or like, be grateful or else you won't get anything else, or be grateful because it could be a lot worse. Or this is the shame one. There's some really horrific, violent things going on in our world right now, right? And so typically when I work with people, I'm not working on the front lines of like a global crisis. Typically when I'm working with people, they're already at like a certain level of stability and success in their life, so that we can, because the type of work I do is very destabilizing if you're not already at a certain level of that, right? And so I'm sure there's ways that now I've built a lot more resources so I can support more of these global crisis situations, and I'm still finding my clear purpose in how I'm going to support that more deeply. But what I do know is, at least in this moment, I'm here to support and activate people who can step into leadership like right fucking now. Okay? So the reason I bring that up is there can be a lot of guilt and shame. Like, look at these tragedies that are going on, and I'm upset about this. Look at this horrific thing that's happening, in Syria, and I'm crying about that. And we create a lot of shame. And I actually grew up, relative to where I was living, I grew up experiencing a lot of pretty dramatic trauma. And so there would be people in my life who would feel like, oh my God, like I could never handle what's going on in your life, or men who would sometimes feel like boys, who would feel kind of like emasculated and shame, like didn't know how to really be with me because of what I was going through versus what they were going through. And what I've really realized is that we all go through the same variety of emotions and feelings through different vehicles. I truly feel that typically most people experience a spectrum, and it's just the vehicle you're meant to be in. And so oftentimes those of us who are not in immediate crisis, like the type that we're seeing right now, will feel a lot of shame and will feel like they should be grateful for the life they have, but from this place of shame and sadness. And gratitude from a space of shame or fear is not true gratitude. It's just not. And it's not the sort of gratitude that's going to make our world transform and move. So when we do things from a motivator of fear or shame, the lifespan is going to be pretty short of how far we can get. That's just not a strong enough why. Like if you're here to do something big and powerful in the world, most of us who are going to have a sad, we've got some sad things in our background because everybody does, right? But if you're here to do something big in the world, or you feel the desire to do something big in the world, typically you're going to have a sad story that's kind of part of your why and is part of the motivator. And at a certain point you have to realize like that's not going to be enough. Coming from fear and from shame will not be enough, and that sort of gratitude is not very fulfilling, and it will not allow you to really have the good that's in your life. So the more I've noticed, like waves of gratitude since we started doing these videos have been coming through me to the point where like sometimes I just want to get on the ground and like just like kiss the ground where I live. Like I'm so grateful for everything that's happening in my life, and not everything's easy, but it's and I realize like I've just been struck by waves of it even when I'm in a tight point in different aspects of my life. And I realize it's part of really having it, because we're going so deeply as a collective right now into really anchoring and having it. I'm letting myself feel the gratitude that's always there, that I can't always feel when it's motivated by shame or that I should feel grateful. When it's just truly I'm clearing away the things that don't allow me to have what's already here, then the gratitude that is some potent gratitude. That's the sort of gratitude that lets you manifest really amazing things in your life. And that's the sort of gratitude that spurs you on to give and serve and change the planet the way we need to right now. You feel me on that? So it's like, when there's a gratitude of like, when the gratitude is like, oh my God, there's this terrible thing that happened on the airplane and I'm glad that wasn't me, or there's this horrific thing that's happening in Syria and like, fuck the guys who aren't letting these people, that whole thing, that only goes so far. There's not a lot of action that comes from that sort of gratitude, not long-term action. But if you can start to really clear away the things that hold you back from having what you need, which again could be embracing the high maintenance thing and making little subtle shifts all day so you build the right platform for you to be on the highest level possible. Hey Maureen, love you. Then you get to really have what's in your life, and then you are filled with true authentic gratitude, and it's the sort of gratitude where you're so filled that you can really, really, really give. In the long game, you can long game give. And that's the sort of gratitude that I wish for all of us. It's the best feeling gratitude, and it's the sort of gratitude that really will change the world. Now, let's do a little energy. Thank you, Brooke. She says, I'm grateful for you. Oh, I don't know what that is. This is so good. I'm excited to reframe my thoughts about being high maintenance. I'm grateful for my life because I'm creating awesomeness. Yeah, I get where you're coming from. Beautiful. Life as a sensitive kid meant being into psychiatric from teenage times. Yeah. What you're describing here, Skillian, that you're talking about, like, this is it. This is the path of the soul innovator. So there's a lot of pieces to it, but one of them is embracing the essentials you need to create the good work you're here to do. And from that space, you can be grateful. Because it's so funny how a small pivot will allow you to enjoy your day that much more and then actually be grateful. So those are the two pieces that I feel we were here to share today. High maintenance and embracing it, and understanding that that is where you will find true gratitude, and that's where you can really do something huge. Hey, Sarah. So if you're just joining us, that's what this was about. Like a lot of things we considered high maintenance. I'm thinking even, right, like people not wanting to be around cigarette smoke, like pregnant people, that was considered high maintenance. Right? Like there's things we realize now are essential that were considered high maintenance at the time that was not understood. And so I guess I really feel like I want to say strongly to you, there's things you need right now for what you're here to offer at this unprecedented time on the planet that is essential, that will be misunderstood but as high maintenance for as long as you don't approve and own what you really need. I think that was the biggie for today. And from that space, you can be truly grateful. And from that space, you can be so filled that you can offer in a really generous and potent and powerful way. Cool. That was like the cliff notes. And I want you to know that I'm going to put a link here. So if you haven't heard already, I'm doing these complimentary stepping stone sessions. So if you really resonate with these videos and you want to know how to go deeper together, I have a couple offerings that I'm going to be closing the doors to, like basically within the next, it is big. I feel that, Martine. Sarah, I want to come to Portland and see you soon. Thank you for reflecting that. So yeah, I'm doing these complimentary sessions. If you haven't signed up for one yet and you're resonating with these videos, I don't know why. And within that session, you're going to do an application. It's going to answer a lot of you're going to answer some questions, and it's actually going to open a lot within you, just even before we get on the phone. Then we're going to do a complimentary session, and we're going to take the biggest block you see in your life as holding you back or hindering you from having it. We're going to transform that into a stepping stone, because that's actually what it's there to be, and we're going to allow you to really rise and show up and be who you're here to be at the most important time ever to be that. And we're going to talk about some offerings we could do together, because as I said, I have a couple really powerful programs and containers that are happening right now, and I want you in them. If you're resonating with this work, I want you in them. I need to be connecting with you. So let's be connecting. And then right now, let's just do some energy to ground this out, because I feel like this was intense. This was powerful. So let's just take some breaths here. If you can, close your eyes with me, okay? And let's just take some breaths, and let's breathe in some space and possibility. Exhaling out. And I want you to just let your whole body, I'm going to be a little more quiet and maybe not describe this whole thing, but I want you to let your whole body just get really solid and heavy. And begin to let yourself breathe in the feeling of true gratitude. And true gratitude is grounding. It's solid. It allows you to relax and stop fighting the good that's already in your life. Stop resisting, and you start allowing the truth that life loves you. Feel what that feels like in the body. Let's take a few breaths here. In your mind's eye, just know that the guides and guardians that support this work, that support you and the connection we're all having right now, are just dropping down what looks like to me like kind of like a golden bubble. And it's just dropping right over you, creating a really tight, supportive, protective container where you get to have a little space between you and the rest of life. And just take some breaths here. Just feel the way you just have a little space here. Have a little space in your own protective container. And stay in this little space. And here's what I'm being guided to say to you. Well, first I'm guided to just send out a little bit of love. So let's just let that come out. Just stay with this for a few more breaths. How much love can you let into this little space without sending it out? How much love can you take in right now? Okay. And from this space, I can barely talk, from this space of being in your own little container, so filled with love just for you, support and gratitude and love that is just for you in this moment, before you connect with the rest of the world and the rest of the world's reactions and the rest of the world's reflections. What do you, and I'm going to invite you to not get involved with the how either. This is just you speaking to your own spirit from this space of being so filled with love and authentic gratitude. And I want you to answer this question. For you to offer what is most extraordinary and necessary in the world right now, from you, because we're waiting for this, from you. There's something special only you have. What? I almost want to whisper it. I don't know why, so I'm going to lean a little closer. What do you really need? What do you really need? What do you really need? It's just you asking you. It's just you. What do you really need? And let yourself just be in this container with whatever answer's coming to you. No judgment, no how does this work for anyone else. Just decide if you're willing to own what it is you really need to give what you're here to really give. And if you are, we're just bringing this energy up to the throat so you can begin to communicate and ask from where, from here, basically, from where you really, what you really need to give what you're really here to give. Feel the way, let's just breathe that in. And as you exhale out, just bring that right into the throat, let it settle in the heart. Let's begin to ask, even on the bus, even in the grocery store, even in our bedroom, even at a restaurant, let's begin to ask for those little subtle things that would allow us to really have the good we really have already. And in this little container where we make that commitment, let's make a commitment to be the strongest, healthiest, whole, in right relationship with ourselves, people we can be. So that we can radiate this out and serve the people who are in true crisis, who need us. If we have the space that we all have right now who are watching this, there's people who need us to show up and be the strongest and best that we are. And from this little container, filled with this commitment, filled with this love, filled with the understanding of what you really need, just feel some energy coming out of your crown and just send a prayer somewhere. Send a prayer to some place where people are in need of the essential things that will allow them to be who they really are. Let's just exhale out here. Let's go quiet for a minute and just feel whatever sensations you're feeling in your own little container. And then just begin to take some heavier breaths here. Feeling how strong your lungs are. And begin to open your eyes. Thanks for going there with me. Aw, I needed some love and recognition regarding a tough situation. Hey, Emily. Hey, Nancy. Awesome. All right. Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me for that. I feel really good right now. And it feels really good to own what we really need to be who we really came here to be. And it feels really good to be in true gratitude. And let's just keep it moving. And I'll post a link so you can sign up for the session. And if you resonate, we should be in connection. All right. Love ya. Talk to you soon.